So here we are again at this splendid stand at Ascot Racecourse. We've just experienced a superb launch event for our series of talks this year, Business Insight 2010. My name is Graham Wadsworth, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to you today Michael Portillo. Michael, hello.
Thank you very much.
So Michael, if I can start by asking you, recently in one of your broadcasts you used the expression, when you're dead, referring to any legacy that you or anybody else might want to leave. In your time in public life, you've left quite an imprint on many people's lives, indeed the landscape, when we're referring to the railway that you helped to save. What imprint is it that you're trying to make right now?
I have no illusions about imprints. I think most of us have a very transitory impact. And I think it is fundamentally unhealthy to go around thinking about your legacy. And I would be so bold as to say that I think one of the problems we have with Tony Blair, a man who in many ways I regard very highly, was that he was clearly obsessed with his legacy, about making an impact on history. And I think that is very distortionary in decision making. If you think you want to make a big impact, that may lead you to some very, very curious decisions. As far as my own personal life plan is concerned, I'm enjoying the flexibility of what I do now. I could not tell you what I would do in 2011. I've more or less got 2010 mapped out. But I am a sort of cork bobbing on the tide of fate. I rather like that. Each year brings different things. I just love to approach each thing I do with enthusiasm, to do it to the best of my ability, but certainly not with any regard to posterity.
You've spoken in the past about spiritual poverty. Can you explain to me what you mean by that?
I think I made that comment in the context of unemployment. I mean, unemployment can be regarded as an economic problem. Having people who are not contributing to the economy is a problem. But I fear that's how we mainly regard it in this country. We say, oh, well, 3 million people not working, but we can kind of afford that. We can afford their unemployment pay. The thing is that it is extremely debilitating to self-esteem. And it worries me very much indeed that we now have what is commonly called an underclass, a group of people who in this generation have no contact with the world of work or indeed of prosperity, but maybe their parent or parents didn't, and maybe their grandparent or grandparents didn't. So, a section of society that is really excluded from the mainstream, that doesn't share the common goals of our society, that doesn't participate in our aspirations, who live a life which I think is indeed poor financially and poor spiritually. And that concerns me very much indeed, because I think, if you have that element in your society, we're all impoverished to the extent that it is something that means we're not all giving of our best. But it's also something that if we ignore as a society, then we're impoverished again, because we're not feeling the magnanimity, the generosity, the concern that we ought to have for those people who are excluded from the life that we have.
You've met some of our young talents in the area this morning, some of the students that have come down to talk with you. Given the level of graduate unemployment, what advice can you give them in terms of their future prospects, getting into employment or whatever it may be?
The students I met here today are very impressive. I had no idea what to expect. They asked me a question each, and their questions were all about was I disappointed by the 0.1% increase in GDP in the last quarter's figures? These were not the questions I anticipated. So these are clearly very alert, very well educated, extremely intelligent young people, of whom there are large numbers. Unfortunately, I'm extremely concerned that there are also vast numbers who are not getting proper qualifications in education. And I think that's a real problem for them, and I think it's a real problem for the country. I do feel very concerned that even highly intelligent people with very good qualifications and terrific application to their work, very good attitudes, even these people are going to find it difficult to find jobs with the economy the way it is. To businesses, I would say, even if you can't afford to employ people who've come out of education, maybe there are ways in which you can be in touch with them. Maybe you can add value to their lives and help them to gain experience. To the students, I would say, seize any experience that you can, even if it's not paid employment. If you have the opportunity to travel and broaden your mind, if you have the opportunity to do voluntary work, if you have the opportunity to do any kind of work experience, even if it's not paid, seize it. Because I think in a world in which lots of people have degrees, the big differentiator now is the quality of the person. And the quality of the person is largely made up of that person's experiences. So having gobbled up education, gobble up experience in any way that you possibly can.
If we can expand that out, Michael, to businesses in general, given the low level of employee engagement in many companies and many sectors, what do you think we can do to help engage employees and get them more motivated to work?
Well, I think employers have to raise their game by a notch or two. I mean, of course, it's a very varied picture, and you do find people who are extremely motivated by their employer. Actually, I spoke to someone here today who clearly was absolutely full of the zest of his company. I might say his employer, I think, was a Canadian company, but he had that kind of culture of his organisation which shone through him in an absolutely genuine way. I think, employees need to feel valued, and obviously that isn't all about pay. I think it's about people feeling that they've got a career path ahead of them. Certainly the first employment that I was in, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel that my career path was mapped out, or even if it was, I didn't feel that it was genuinely being fulfilled. So I think people have to believe that they are being watched, nurtured, cultivated, encouraged up to the next level. And maybe not all employers are good at that at the moment. And I hope they will be, because I think it's better and it's probably cheaper to nurture in-house talent and to take it with you and to inculcate those people with your corporate culture than constantly to be having to re-recruit and replant the bed.